Alright guys, here's your limits quiz preview. Alright, so your limits quiz, it will only be 6 questions worth a total of 30 points. Whoops. Meaning each question is worth a possible 5 points. Alright, so number 1, let's find the limit of f of x for the given graph. And we want it as x approaches, x approaches 2. Alright, so here's our graph. It's probably going to be pretty terribly drawn, but alright, so what's the limit of our graph as x approaches 2? Well, the first thing you need to know, what you need to do is, remember the little hiker guys that draw out? Walking along the graph. It's that little Duck Dynasty beard going on. Alright, this guy's walking along this way. And this guy here, we'll call this Psi. He got his hair. Actually, he's usually wearing a hat. Pretty bad hat. He's got his Duck Dynasty beard. And he's got his sweet tea. Alright, so he's walking this way too. Alright, so this is Uncle Psi. I actually had an Uncle Psi, believe it or not. So it's pretty cool. And we'll call this, I don't know, we'll call this Jace. Alright, so the first thing you want to ask yourself, do both sides of the graph meet at the x value? So basically, will Jace and Psi get to this value? If the answer is yes, then what you do is you go up to that value and you go over to the y-axis and you figure out the limit. So, do both sides meet at that x value? Alright, in this case, the answer is yes. So what you want to do is you want to now find the y value for that point. Alright, so come over here, trace the graph up from 2, and if you go over, it is 1. So the answer, the limit of f of x as x approaches 2 equals 1. Alright, on to number 2. Again, we have a graph. I'll draw this one a little better. I'm going to do a little bit of cheating on it. There we go, I cheated. Alright, so here we have an open circle, here we have an open circle, and this is -1, this is at -2, and this is at +1, and this is at +1. So, number 2, find the limit of f of x as x approaches 1. Alright, first of all, do both sides meet? At x equals 1? Here, the answer is no. So, our limit, let's go back up here, our limit does not exist. Or, as I like to say, our limit has no soul, or no solution. Alright? Because again, if you had somebody standing here, walking along the graph, and you had somebody standing over here, walking along the graph, this person would end up here, this person would end up here. They are not at the same place, so the limit does not exist or has no soul. All right. Number 3. What is the limit as x approaches 6 of x squared minus 36 over x minus 6? Well, if we use direct substitution, because that's what you always do first, you always use direct substitution first. So if we do that, we get 36 minus 36 over 6 minus 6, which is 0 over 0, so that's not going to work. So what do we have to do? We have to do the F word of mathematics. We have to factor this bad boy. So the factoring at the top, x squared minus 36, is simply going to be x minus 6 times x plus 6, and the bottom is going to be x minus 6. Well, now, looky there, the x minus 6's cancel out, leaving you with x plus 6. Now we can do direct substitution and get 6 plus 6, which is 12. So the limit of x squared minus 36 over x minus 6 as x approaches 6 is 12. All right, halfway there. Not so bad yet, right? Number 4 is another problem we're going to have to factor. Let's find the limit as x approaches 1 of x squared minus 6x plus 5 over x minus 1. Again, use direct substitution. You're going to get 0 over 0, so we have to factor it. There's no way around it. Now, I'm going to add this too. Since you're having to solve this by factoring, the chances of one of these factors being x minus 1 is really, really high. All right? Because if not, you wouldn't be able to factor it. You'd still be in the same boat. So I'm just going to go ahead and put my x minus 1 factor right there and just figure out what the other one's got to be. Well, since this is a 1, we know it's going to be a single x over here. Since this is a positive 5, we know this has to be a negative 1. So this is going to be a minus 5. And of course, negative 1, negative 5 give us the negative 6, and also give us a positive 5. So those cancel, leaving us with x minus 5, which is now due to direct substitution, 1 minus 5. So negative 4 is our answer. All right. Number 5. Let's find the limit of x as x approaches 2 of the square root of x plus 3 minus the square root of 5 over x minus 2. All right, well, if you remember that shortcut, you can take this factor, all right, and you can multiply it by 2 and put it under 1. If you remember that, 1 over 2 square root of 5. That actually is the correct answer, all right, because you multiply by 2. All right, and of course you have to make this positive because it's negative here. It has to be positive down here. But if you want to do it the long way, you could do it the long way, but you don't have to. But the long way is you have x plus 3 minus the square root of 5 over x minus 2. You would multiply this by the conjugate, which is simply changing the sign between the terms. All right, so now square root of x times square root of x plus 3 times the square root of x plus 3 is just x plus 3. Our middle terms will cancel out. Square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is 5, positive, negative. So it is negative 5 over x minus 2, and then the square root of x plus 3 plus the square root of 5. Well, this here, positive 3, negative 5, that's x minus 2, is what that simplifies down into. That'll cancel with that, leaving you 1 over the square root of x plus 3 plus the square root of 5. Now, direct substitute in the 2, so it's 1 over square root of 2 plus 3, which is the square root of 5, plus the square root of 5, which is not the square root of 10 or the square root of 25. It is simply 1 over 2 square root of 5. And there you go, because it is the same thing as the shortcut way. All right. But if you're not sure the shortcut or you just feel unsure about yourself using the shortcut, you can always do it the long way and it'll work just fine as well. All right, and the sixth and final question still hasn't been too bad in my opinion. The limit as x approaches 1, you have the square root of x plus 7 minus the square root of 8 over x plus 1. All right, so at first we want to plug in x minus 1. All right, let's just go ahead and direct substitute first because you normally always want to do that first. So it's going to be the square root of 1 plus 7 minus the square root of 8 over 2. Square root of 1 plus 7 is the same thing as the square root of 8. Square root of 8 minus the square root of 8 is 0 over 2, which is just 0. All right, so guys, for this one, it works out. All right, it worked out. We didn't get we didn't get 0 divided by 0, so this one actually works, and our answer is in fact 0 for this one. All right, our answer is in fact 0. Because remember, you always want to try direct substitution first. Always try direct substitution first, guys. All right, if you try that first, you can save yourself some headache. Since we tried it first here and it worked out, it gave us 0 divided by 2, which is 0, because 0 divided by anything except 0 is 0. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not it doesn't blow up. It doesn't do anything. It's just 0. So we saved ourselves a lot of headache here by just plugging it in first. All right. Watch this video as many times as you need to understand this material. You should have a pretty good grasp on it from what we've been doing in class, but we will be having a short quiz on this tomorrow in class. And good luck.